So today I'm going to give you my honest long-term owner review on the TEC slip-on exhausts. Now I've been running these on my Triumph Street Twin for well over 5 years, and in this video today I'm going to give you a full account and breakdown of the exhausts. So if you're in the market for them, it should hopefully give you a proper insight into whether or not you should go out and get the TECs over another model. So today I'm going to tell you why I changed the exhausts. I'm going to give you a sound test from the original to the TEC slip-ons. I'll go through the looks and the build quality, the performance, the ride and the feel, right down to the day-to-day practicality of living with these exhausts. So let's get started. So I've noticed a few things on the TEC website which you may find useful. The first of which is the finish on the end caps. Now on the older models, on the ones that I've got, they use these pot rivets, whereas the newer ones now come with a much cleaner welded finish, which in my opinion looks a lot more refined. Another thing you should know is that TEC are listing these exhausts as not for road use, and that basically means that they're technically illegal to run on public roads. Now, whether that marking is stamped on the exhaust itself or whether it's in the packaging, I'm not 100% sure. All I can say is on the model that I've got, the older model, that it doesn't show any sign of that on the cans themselves. What it does mean is if you're found on a public high road, depending on where you live and the laws where you live, you could find yourself in a little bit of trouble. So with any modern bike, they have to meet the current legislations. And back in 2017, the Street Twin, along with all the other models, had to meet the strict Euro 4 legislations. Later on, the later models had to meet the even stricter Level 5 legislations. Now, those legislations ultimately mean that they have to keep the noise and the emissions low. Now, the trade-off is, for the rider and for the owner, that you lose a little bit of that character, so you don't get the full oomph that those twin engines are known for. Now, I have to be honest, I purchased my Street Twin second-hand back in 2018, and at that point the previous owner had already set about making a few modifications, one of which were the TEC slip-on exhaust. Now, when I set about modifying my bike, one of the things that I was sure to keep was those TEC slip-ons, and that is because it brought out that full deep growl of that Triumph Street Twin engine. It was absolutely, when I paired that with the X-Pipe, it was night and day, the change in the bike. So the TEC slip-ons were definitely a keeper for me. So I'm not going to take you through the fitting and installation because it's a pretty simple job, but also that I've already got them fitted to my bike, so I'm not going to remove them in order to refit them. But yeah, it is a pretty simple job. It's just a few bolts and a little bit of grease. What I would say is if you are thinking about also fitting the X-Pipe, then I do have a video on my playlist about fitting the X-Pipe. That one is a little bit more involved because you have to literally take the side of the bike off, the whole side frame of the bike off. Not a hard job, it is just bolts and a little bit of wiggle room, but it is more involved than these slip-ons. What I would say with the slip-ons is pretty straightforward, and they're a lot lighter and shorter than the originals. So let's face it, the reason that most of us swap out our end cans are for the sound. So what I'm going to do now is do a few little tests. I'll show you the bike on start up from cold. I'll then take it on a few twisties and through town so that you can get the full experience of what it sounds like in real life. Right, we can't go there. So, there's loads of flipping restrictions where you can't ride a motorbike down there. In terms of looks and styling, I think TEC have done a great job with these exhausts, because what they've actually done is they've not deviated too far off the mark of the original intended look and feel of the bike. So what they've really done is they've just streamlined them. They've made them a little bit more lighter, a little bit more stubbier, which actually contributes to the aesthetic of the bike a little bit more. It really does suit and bring out the character of that bike, especially with that beautiful tone. So I think they've done a great job in keeping true to that iconic Bonneville look and feel. What I would say about the build quality is I think these have been on my bike now for about 7 years and they've held up well. They're not showing any signs of wear and tear or rust or markings of any kind. Yes, I do keep my bike in very good condition, but it is kept under a sheet outside, so that should say something about the build quality of these, that they're still holding up and still looking great. In terms of performance, don't be expecting crazy horsepower. After all, these are just a set of slip-on exhausts. What I would say in real terms though is that these exhausts, when paired especially as well with that X-pipe, really do bring out that true tone and character of the twin engine. It really brings out that full rider experience, which is really geared up and complements that torque-focused character of the street twin. Another positive is that you don't need to remap them for them to work well, although some riders obviously do go down that route for absolute perfection. What I can say is I've been running mine as is without a hiccup and they're still working great 7 years on. So let's talk practicality and price. Now these end cans are a lot lighter, shorter and slimmer than the originals, and so saving weight on a motorcycle is always a good thing. That especially comes into play if we're doing low speed manoeuvres or we're moving the bike around by foot. It's really handy when the bike's just got that sleeker, slimmer, lighter feel to it. Now the other thing when it comes to price, we know that motorcycle modifications can lead us into a whole world of spending the cash really quickly, and exhausts are one of the biggest things out there where the money can literally just fly out the door. So these TEC slip-on end cans really do a great job at being a really affordable solution to upgrading your exhaust system at a fraction of the cost. So after living with these exhausts for a good few years on my bike, what I can confidently say is that they are one of the quickest, simplest and easiest upgrades that you can probably make to your motorbike. And when they're paired with that X-pipe, they really do make it a game changer. They really do bring out that uninhibited character of that twin engine. So obviously I've got these on my street twin, but I know that TEC also provide these exhausts for a variety of other bikes, whether it's an older air-cooled model to a later water-cooled one, whether it's a Triumph or Royal Enfield. I know that they've got a whole range of bikes that they can fit these to, so check out their website if you're interested in getting the TEC slip-ons. What I would say is if it was me personally and I was looking to upgrade my exhaust system, I would be a little bit concerned about that disclaimer on their website that mentions not for road use. I'd want to know a little bit more about that. Is it stamped on the product? What does that mean? What are the rules and regulations in my country, and does it affect me? Because I wouldn't want to be riding around personally with something that was not for road use that could potentially get me personally into trouble. It just sort of negates the whole purpose of that sound that, you know, you're drawing attention to yourself and bombing along, and if you get pulled over or whatever else and it's not for road use, then it would sort of put a bit of a spanner in the works for me. So I hope you found this review helpful. Are you riding a street twin or other modern classic, and have you upgraded the exhaust system on your bike? If so, how are you finding it, and what decision did you make and why did you go for it? Please do put your comments in the comments box below, because it acts as a great resource for people who are looking to make those changes to their bikes, to hear from you guys what you did and how you did it and what the price was, etc. Now, I'll put also a pinned comment up the top, which will link to my X-pipe video. So anyone that's interested in also upgrading the X-pipe, you can find that in one of my playlists below. So all that's left for me to say is, if you haven't yet subscribed, you can do so by clicking that button. And if you click that little bell icon, that will keep you informed of the latest video releases that I make on the channel. All that's left for me to say then is safe riding, safe driving, happy adventures, and I'll see you in the next one.